Ryan walked through the narrow corridor of the alien vessel, his footsteps echoing softly against the strange metallic floor. The walls were smooth and faintly glowing with pale light, yet they gave him little comfort. He had never left Earth before, and now he was far away from everything familiar. The air carried a faint hum, as if the ship itself was alive, watching his every step. He reminded himself that this journey was not about him alone. He had been sent here as a representative of his people, chosen to face the unknown and build a bridge between two worlds. Every detail around him reminded him how small he was. Symbols he could not read glimmered on the walls, and doors without handles opened and closed silently ahead of him. He wondered if the ship was guiding him, or if it was testing him. Either way, he kept moving forward, because turning back was not an option. He thought of Earth and the millions of people waiting for the outcome of this meeting. Some were hopeful, others fearful. Humanity had dreamed of meeting other beings among the stars, yet dreams had turned into tension when these aliens first appeared. They were powerful, organized, and disciplined. Their council wanted to know if humans could be trusted. Ryan was chosen not because he was the strongest or the most intelligent, but because he had something that mattered more. He carried hope, and he carried the courage to stand even when he felt uncertain. As he moved deeper into the corridor, a figure stepped into his path. She appeared without sound, as if the walls themselves had released her. She was tall and graceful, her movements smooth like flowing water. Her skin carried a rich teal-blue tone that shimmered softly in the light. Her dark eyes studied him carefully, not with hostility but with deep curiosity. Ryan stopped. The woman raised her hand slightly, not in threat, but to show he could go no further unless he faced her. Her presence filled the space between them. She was unlike anything he had seen, yet she carried an undeniable beauty, calm and natural, as though she belonged perfectly to this world of light and silence. "You cannot deny what you feel, human," she said. Her voice was steady, clear, and carried a strange melody that made the words seem more than sound. "Your heart is louder than your steps. It speaks even when you are silent." Ryan hesitated, unsure how to answer. He had trained for questions about politics, about resources, about the future of two species. Yet she was not speaking about those things. She was speaking about him. About what he carried inside. "I feel many things," Ryan admitted slowly. "But none of them stop me from walking forward." The woman's eyes narrowed, but not with anger. She studied him like a puzzle she wanted to solve. "My people believe feelings are chains. They hold us back. They lead to weakness. If you cannot control them, they will control you." Her words echoed in the corridor. Ryan felt the weight of them. He had always known emotions were both a gift and a burden. Fear could paralyze. Anger could blind. Yet hope and love could also lift people higher than reason alone. He had seen it in his own world, in families who endured hardship together, in explorers who risked their lives to discover new frontiers. "Maybe they are chains," Ryan replied, his voice quiet but firm. "But they are also anchors. They keep us from losing ourselves. They remind us why we keep moving forward." The woman tilted her head slightly. She seemed neither satisfied nor defeated by his answer. She stepped closer, closing the space between them. He noticed the fine details of her features, the calm strength in the way she carried herself. She was not here to frighten him. She was here to measure him. Behind her, the corridor remained blocked, as if the ship itself had sealed the way. Ryan understood now that this was not a coincidence. This was part of the trial. He could not reach the council without first facing her. "You believe your feelings are strength," she said at last. "Then prove it. Walk this path not with silence, but with honesty. Do not hide what is inside you, because my people will see through every mask." Ryan drew in a slow breath. He realized she was not his enemy. She was his first test. He had to show her that humans were more than fragile creatures lost in emotion. He had to show her that feelings could be a kind of power. "I will not hide," he answered. "I carry fear, but I also carry hope. I carry doubt, but I also carry trust. These things walk with me, and they do not make me weak. They make me human." For the first time, the woman's expression softened. A faint spark lit her eyes, not of agreement but of recognition. She stepped aside slowly, allowing the corridor behind her to open again. "You may continue, Ryan," she said. "But know this. The council will test you further. They will search your heart more than your mind. Be ready, because your journey has only begun." Ryan nodded and stepped forward, his chest tight with both nerves and determination. The woman's words followed him like an echo. He was no longer walking alone. He carried the weight of his people, and he carried the challenge of proving that humanity's greatest strength lay not in force, but in feeling. Ryan walked deeper into the corridor, his heart steady but his mind alert. The ship seemed endless, a maze of glowing halls and silent doors. He could feel that he was being watched, not just by the walls but by unseen eyes that judged his every move. Yet the memory of the alien woman who had blocked his path lingered more strongly than the stares of her people. Her voice still echoed inside him, reminding him that his feelings were exposed for all to see. He turned a corner, and once again, she was there. Lyra stood firmly in the center of the path, her arms folded lightly against her chest, her teal blue skin glowing softly under the lights. Her presence was calm but unyielding, as though she had been waiting for him all along. "You move forward quickly," she said, her tone even, yet carrying a trace of challenge. "But speed does not prove strength. Tell me, human, why should we trust your kind when your hearts are so restless?" Ryan stopped a few paces away from her. He could sense that her question was not only for him but for the unseen audience that might be listening. The walls hummed faintly, and he wondered if the ship itself was carrying his answer to others. "We are restless because we dream," Ryan said, lifting his chin. "We always look beyond what we know. It may cause mistakes, but it also leads us to grow. Without restlessness, we would never have reached the stars." Lyra studied him carefully, her dark eyes narrowing slightly. "Dreams can also blind. A people who chase what they cannot control may destroy themselves. Is that not true for your world?" Ryan paused. The truth was clear in her words. His people had fought wars, had hurt their own planet, and had sometimes allowed ambition to overshadow wisdom. But hiding that would serve no purpose. If this trial was about honesty, then he had to give it fully. "Yes, we have made mistakes," he admitted, his voice calm but steady. "We have hurt ourselves, and we have struggled. But every mistake has taught us something. We fall, and we rise again. That is who we are. Our flaws do not erase our worth." Lyra tilted her head slightly, as though his answer was unexpected. Her lips pressed into a faint line, neither smiling nor frowning. She stepped closer, her tall frame casting a faint shadow over him. "You speak of mistakes as though they are lessons. My people do not accept failure. To fail is to weaken the whole. How can your kind be trusted if you stumble so often?" Ryan held her gaze. He felt the weight of her question, but he refused to look away. "Because we learn faster when we stumble. Because every person who stands again after falling carries more strength than before. Our weakness is what teaches us to become strong." Her eyes searched his face, testing him as if she could see beneath his skin. The corridor was silent except for the low hum of the ship. Ryan realized this was no simple conversation. This was a clash of beliefs, a duel fought not with weapons but with words and conviction. "Your feelings guide you," Lyra said slowly. "But feelings are not stable. They shift with time. Today you may speak of hope. Tomorrow you may give in to fear. Why should the council place faith in such fragile beings? Ryan drew in a slow breath. His hands curled briefly at his sides, not in anger but in focus. Because even when our feelings shift, we keep moving forward. Hope may fade, but it can rise again. Fear may come, but courage can still follow. We are not strong because we never fall. We are strong because we always get up. For the first time, Lyra's eyes softened slightly, though her stance remained firm. Her voice lowered, carrying a tone that felt more personal than before. And what of you, Ryan? What do you carry inside you now? If you are honest, tell me. Do you walk this path with certainty, or do you hide your doubt? Her question struck deeper than the rest. He could not answer quickly, for she was asking not about humanity, but about him. He thought of his journey, of leaving Earth, of the millions waiting for him to succeed. He thought of the weight on his shoulders, the fear that he might not be enough, the hope that somehow his words would matter. I carry doubt, Ryan said at last. His voice was quiet but clear. I carry fear. But I also carry hope, and I carry trust. These feelings live together inside me, and I will not deny them. They do not stop me. They give me strength to keep walking. Silence stretched between them. Lyra studied him with careful eyes, and then something shifted in her posture. Her arms lowered, and though her expression remained serious, a faint trace of respect touched her gaze. You speak with honesty, she said. That is rare, even among your kind. Perhaps there is more to humans than I believed. The corridor behind her opened again, glowing with light as if welcoming him forward. She stepped aside slowly, her presence no longer blocking his way. You may continue, she said, though her voice carried a quieter tone, almost thoughtful. But remember, words are only the beginning. The council will not be moved by speech alone. You will need more than honesty. You will need to endure. Ryan gave a small nod, his chest tight with both pressure and determination. He stepped forward, walking past her, feeling the weight of her gaze on his back. This was no simple passage. It was a trial, and each step tested not only his courage but the very spirit of humanity itself. As the corridor stretched on, he knew the clash between his heart and theirs had only begun. Ryan walked deeper into the alien ship, each step steady but heavy with thought. His meeting with Lyra had left a mark on him. She had challenged his words, tested his feelings, and forced him to speak with honesty. Now the corridor stretched ahead, long and glowing, yet something felt different. The silence was deeper, as though the ship itself was waiting for him to notice what lay ahead. The walls shimmered faintly as he passed, their smooth surfaces shifting like rippling water. At first he thought it was a trick of the light, but soon the shapes began to move, forming faint images. He saw shadows of people, some human, some alien. Their voices were whispers, carried not through the air but directly into his mind. You are too small, one voice said. You are not enough, another added. Your kind will fall. Ryan slowed his pace but did not stop. He had expected fear, but the voices pressed into his thoughts with sharp precision. They spoke to his own doubts, to the fears he had tried to bury deep inside. The air around him grew colder, though he knew the ship had not changed. It was his mind that was being tested. He pressed his hand lightly against the wall. The surface was solid, but the images flickered beneath it like trapped memories. He realized now that this was not just a corridor. This was the test Lyra had warned him about. The ship was alive in its own way, and it was probing him, searching for weakness. The whispers grew louder. He saw visions of Earth breaking apart, cities crumbling, people crying out. He saw himself failing, standing before the alien council with no words left to speak. His chest tightened, his breath came faster. The ship wanted him to give in to despair. But Ryan closed his eyes and forced himself to breathe slowly. He reminded himself of what he had said earlier. Fear could live inside him, but it did not have to control him. Doubt could walk beside him, but it did not have to stop him. He thought of home, of the blue sky over the oceans, of children laughing in fields, of people who kept going even in hard times. These images grew stronger than the shadows on the wall. When he opened his eyes again, the corridor was still glowing, but the whispers had quieted. The visions faded back into the smooth surface, leaving only faint ripples behind. "You resist," a voice said, not harsh but curious. It was not Lyra's voice. It was something older, something woven into the ship itself. "Few can endure what is shown here. Why do you continue when the path brings you pain?" Ryan stood tall, though his legs felt heavy. "Because the pain reminds me why I am here. I carry not only myself, but the hope of my people. If I turn back, then I fail all of them. If I keep walking, then at least I give them a chance." The corridor brightened slightly, as though the ship accepted his answer. Yet the test was not finished. Ahead, the path split into two. Both sides looked the same, smooth walls glowing softly, the hum of the ship steady in both directions. But Ryan knew it could not be that simple. One path was true, the other a trap. He stood still, listening. He placed his hand lightly on the wall again, closing his eyes. At first there was nothing, but then faint feelings touched his mind. From the left path came a sense of emptiness, like a silence that swallowed everything. From the right came a faint warmth, almost like the echo of a heartbeat. Ryan turned toward the right. "Life chooses life," he whispered to himself, and began to walk. The corridor stretched longer than before, but the warmth he had felt grew stronger. It steadied him, gave him courage. Yet the ship tested him again. From the walls came illusions, this time not of failure but of temptation. He saw visions of glory, himself standing above the council, praised as a hero, his name remembered for ages. The sight was powerful, and for a moment he felt pride swell within him. But then he shook his head. That was not why he was here. He had not come to be remembered. He had come to build trust, to carry peace, to prove that humanity's strength was not in pride but in perseverance. The vision cracked and broke apart, the false praise fading into the glowing air. "You refuse the shadow of greatness," the same voice said, sounding almost thoughtful. "Why turn away from power when it is offered?" "Because power without purpose is empty," Ryan answered. "It serves only itself. I am here to serve more than myself." The corridor quieted again. At last, the path widened, leading into a larger chamber. The walls rose high, covered in flowing patterns of light. At the far end stood Lyra, her tall figure calm and still, her dark eyes fixed on him. "You walked the hidden path," she said. "Many lose themselves in those halls. Yet you did not. Tell me, human, what gave you the strength to continue?" Ryan stepped forward, his breath steady though his body felt weary. "I remembered who I am walking for. I am not alone, even when I stand here by myself. My people walk with me, in my heart. That is what carried me through." For a long moment, Lyra said nothing. Then she gave a small nod, her expression unreadable but her eyes softer than before. "Then the council will see you. But be warned, this was only the beginning. The true test has yet to come." Ryan stood tall, ready for what lay ahead. He had faced shadows of his own fear and the empty lure of pride. Now he was prepared to face whatever else awaited. The chamber where Ryan now stood was larger than any he had seen before. The ceiling stretched high above him, filled with soft streams of light that shifted like waves. Strange patterns moved along the walls, almost alive, bending and curling in ways his eyes could barely follow. He felt both awe and unease, as though the chamber itself was watching him. At the far side, Lyra remained still, her teal-blue figure almost blending into the glowing light. Her gaze was fixed on him, calm but unyielding. She had led him here, yet she did not move forward to guide him further. It seemed this place was meant for him to face alone. Ryan took a slow step, then another, the sound of his boots echoing faintly. But with each step, the chamber began to shift. The walls rippled, the lights darkened, and shadows stretched across the floor. He froze for a moment, his breath tightening in his chest. The glow that had guided him so far was fading, leaving him surrounded by moving darkness. Then the voices began again. They were not whispers this time but louder, firmer, pressing into his thoughts like heavy hands. "You are only one man," a voice said. "You carry too much," another added. "Why believe you can change what is greater than you?" The chamber showed him visions once more. This time they were sharper, clearer, almost real. He saw Earth again, but not in triumph. He saw humans divided, struggling, and afraid. He saw the alien council dismissing him, turning their backs as the chance for peace slipped away. He saw himself standing alone, powerless. His chest tightened. He felt smaller than ever before. For all his words about strength and hope, he now wondered if he had been lying to himself. What could one person truly change? He was not a leader of nations. He was not a warrior or a genius. He was only Ryan, an ordinary human chosen to walk an extraordinary path. The weight of that truth pressed down on him until his knees almost buckled. Lyra's voice cut through the silence. "You feel it now, do you not? The weakness that you hide." He turned toward her, his eyes wide. She was closer now, though he had not seen her move. Her expression was calm, but her words carried an edge. "Your kind speaks of hope," she continued, "yet hope can break easily. Look at yourself. Already you tremble. Already you question why you were chosen. If you cannot hold your own heart steady, how can you hold the trust of two worlds?" Ryan clenched his fists. He wanted to answer quickly, but no words came. Everything she said touched the fear already inside him. He had carried doubt before, but now it swelled stronger, threatening to drown his courage. For a long moment, he stood silent. The chamber seemed to grow darker still, the shadows pressing closer, feeding on his hesitation. Finally, he spoke, his voice low but honest. "You are right. I am afraid. I wonder if I can carry this weight. I wonder if I will fail. I do not know if I am enough." The admission echoed through the chamber. The shadows froze, as though surprised by his words. Lyra tilted her head, her dark eyes fixed on him with sharp attention. "You admit your fear," she said. "Most would deny it. Most would try to stand taller, even while breaking inside. Why do you speak of weakness when it will only make you seem smaller?" Ryan lifted his head slowly. His breath was unsteady, but his gaze held firm. "Because it is the truth. And hiding it will not make it disappear. Fear is part of me, but it does not mean I cannot move forward. It does not mean I cannot stand." The shadows wavered, their edges breaking like smoke in the wind. The chamber's glow began to return, faint but steady. Ryan drew in another breath, stronger this time. "I am weak at times. I fall. But strength is not about never falling. It is about rising again. That is what makes us human. That is what gives us power, even in our weakness." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then Lyra stepped forward, her tall figure no longer shrouded in challenge but touched with something different. Her expression softened, though her voice remained measured. "You speak of rising again," she said. "My people fear weakness because they believe it cannot be overcome. Yet you face it directly. You do not deny it. Perhaps there is strength in that, though it is not the kind my people understand." She stopped only a step away from him, her gaze steady and thoughtful. "You have shown me honesty, Ryan. You have shown me the truth of what you carry. The council will test you further, but know this. The moment you faced just now was enough to break many. Yet you remain standing. Ryan lifted his shoulders, the weight inside him still present but no longer crushing. He gave a small nod. I will continue. Even if I stumble again, I will continue. The chamber brightened fully, the patterns on the walls glowing like flowing rivers of light. The shadows were gone, replaced by calm stillness. The path ahead opened once more, a doorway forming at the far end. Lyra stepped aside, her expression unreadable but her eyes carrying a faint trace of respect. Then you are ready for the next trial. But remember, courage is not tested once. It is tested again and again. Be prepared. Ryan walked past her, his step slow but steady. He still felt the weight of his fear, but it no longer ruled him. He carried it as part of himself, and he knew he could face what came next. The doorway ahead opened into a new chamber, softer and warmer than the ones before. The walls glowed with gentle light, not harsh or shifting, but steady like the glow of a calm fire. After the shadows and voices of doubt, the sight gave Ryan a small sense of comfort. He stepped inside carefully, his footsteps quiet against the smooth floor. Lyra followed behind him, her tall figure moving with graceful ease. She had tested him again and again, and though she had spoken with sharp words, her presence no longer felt like a barrier. She was still watching him closely, but her eyes held less judgment than before. For a while, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched, yet it was no longer heavy. Ryan looked around the chamber and noticed patterns on the walls, glowing in shapes he did not understand. They seemed to form symbols, perhaps language, perhaps memory. He wondered if this room carried meaning for her people. At last, Lyra broke the silence. You face the chamber of shadows, she said softly. Few pass through it without falling into despair. Yet you admitted your fear, and still you walked forward. That is not the way of my people. To admit weakness is to bring shame. But you made it a strength. Ryan glanced at her. Fear does not disappear if I hide it. Pretending I am stronger than I am would only make me break faster. On Earth, we learn by sharing our struggles. When one falls, another helps them rise. That is how we move forward together. Lyra's gaze lowered slightly, thoughtful. We do not share weakness. We carry it alone, and many are lost because of it. Perhaps that is why my council fears your kind. They see your emotions as uncontrolled, but perhaps they are something different. Ryan gave a small nod. Emotions guide us. They can be dangerous, yes, but they can also lead us to care for one another. They remind us what matters. Lyra turned fully toward him, her dark eyes shining faintly in the light. Tell me, Ryan. What is this word your kind speaks often, love? My people cannot describe it. We have no language for it. We see bonds of family, duty, or survival, but not what you call love. What is it to you? The question caught Ryan by surprise. He took a slow breath, searching for words that could carry such meaning. Love is when you care for someone more than for yourself, he said at last. It is when their happiness matters to you, even if it costs you something. Love is not always easy. Sometimes it brings pain. But it also gives us strength we cannot find alone. Lyra studied his face, her expression unreadable. Yet her eyes carried a quiet curiosity, as though his words had touched something she had long wondered about. And hope, she asked softly. What is it? My people do not dream as you do. We plan, we calculate, but hope is different. What does it mean to hope? Hope, Ryan said gently, is the belief that tomorrow can be better, even when today is hard. It is what keeps us walking when there is no clear path. It is the light we carry inside us when everything else is dark. For a long moment, Lyra was silent. Her gaze drifted to the glowing walls, as though she was thinking deeply about his words. Then she turned back to him. If your people carry such feelings, then perhaps there is more to you than I understood. My council may not see it yet, but I begin to. You speak not only with reason, but with heart. And perhaps heart is what we have forgotten. Ryan felt a quiet warmth at her words. She was no longer simply a guard or a test. She was becoming something else, a bridge between him and her people. He realized then that the bond forming between them was not only important for this trial but for what lay beyond. You asked why you should trust us, Ryan said softly. The answer is simple. Because we choose to trust others, even when it is difficult. Trust is not given only when it is safe. It is given when it matters most. Lyra looked at him for a long time. Her expression softened more than ever before, and she stepped closer, the distance between them narrowing. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps trust begins not with certainty, but with choice. The chamber brightened, the patterns on the walls glowing stronger as though they responded to her words. A gentle hum filled the air, no longer heavy but harmonious. It felt as though the ship itself recognized the change between them. At last, Lyra spoke again, her voice quieter, carrying something almost like respect. The council has heard your words, but they will want to hear more. They will not accept easily what you have shown me. Yet know this, Ryan. You have begun to change the way I see your kind. That is no small thing. Ryan gave a small smile, tired but steady. Then perhaps it is the beginning of something greater. Lyra held his gaze, and for the first time, she did not stand as his challenger but as his companion. The bond had formed, fragile yet real, a bridge between two worlds built not by force or logic, but by honesty and trust. The path ahead opened once more, wider and brighter than before. Together, they stepped forward, side by side, carrying with them not only the weight of trial but the first spark of understanding. The path opened into a great hall unlike anything Ryan had seen before. The ceiling arched high, filled with flowing strands of light that moved like rivers across the air. The walls were covered in tall columns that glowed faintly, and between them sat figures of the alien council. They were many, their forms tall and graceful like Lyra's, each with teal-blue skin and eyes that seemed to hold deep oceans of thought. The chamber was silent except for the hum of energy that ran through the air. Ryan felt small as he stepped inside, yet he kept his shoulders straight. Every step echoed loudly, as though the hall itself wanted him to know he was being heard. Lyra walked beside him until they reached the center of the chamber. Then she stepped back, leaving him to face the council alone. Her presence remained steady, but now she stood as witness, no longer challenger. One of the council elders leaned forward. His features were sharper, his eyes darker than the rest. When he spoke, his voice carried through the hall without effort. You are the human chosen to stand before us. Speak, then. Tell us why your kind deserves to walk among the stars. Ryan drew a slow breath. He felt the weight of their gaze pressing on him, but he did not look away. I am not here to claim we are perfect, he began. My people have made mistakes, many times. We have hurt our own world, and we have fought among ourselves. But those mistakes have taught us. We fall, and we rise again. That is what makes us human. We keep going, even when it is difficult. A second elder spoke, her voice cool and sharp. You speak of mistakes as though they are strength. Yet mistakes bring destruction. Why should we trust a people who carry such flaws? Ryan lifted his chin. Because our flaws do not define us. What defines us is how we rise after them. Every failure teaches us something new. Every pain reminds us what truly matters. Without mistakes, there can be no growth. Without struggle, there can be no strength. The hall murmured faintly, the council members exchanging quiet words among themselves. Some looked doubtful, others thoughtful. Ryan stood still, waiting, his heart steady even as pressure built inside him. Then another elder spoke, his voice deep and calm. You speak of hope and strength, but words are easy. Tell us, human, why do your kind cling to feelings when they bring pain? Why do you value love, trust, and longing when they make you vulnerable? Ryan hesitated for only a moment before answering. Because feelings are what give life meaning. Without them, survival is empty. Love may bring pain, but it also brings joy worth every risk. Trust may be broken, but when it is kept, it builds bonds stronger than stone. Longing may ache, but it pushes us forward to reach what we dream of. Our feelings make us who we are. They are not weakness. They are our greatest strength. The hall grew quiet again. Ryan's words seemed to linger in the air, carried by the glowing light above. He stood firm, though his heart pounded inside his chest. At that moment, Lyra stepped forward. The council turned their gaze toward her as she raised her head. I walked with him through the trials, she said clearly. I saw his fear, and he did not deny it. I saw his weakness, and he did not hide it. I asked him about love, about hope, and about trust. His answers showed me what our people have long forgotten. He has proven that feelings can be strength. I believe his words are true. Her voice echoed in the hall, strong and steady. The elders looked at her with surprise, for it was rare for one of their kind to speak in defense of an outsider. Yet her conviction carried weight, and they did not silence her. The first elder leaned back, his sharp eyes fixed on Ryan. You admit fear, and yet you speak of strength. You admit weakness, and yet you stand tall. Perhaps this is what makes humans different. But difference is not always trust. Tell us, Ryan. Why should we allow your people to walk beside us, instead of keeping you apart? Ryan's voice grew stronger, his words clear and simple. Because we do not wish to stand above you or below you. We wish to stand with you. Alone, we may stumble. Together, we may rise higher. My people are not perfect, but we are willing to learn, to share, and to trust. That is why we should walk beside you. The hall was silent once more. The council members closed their eyes, their expressions thoughtful. The light above shifted slowly, flowing brighter, then softer again, as though the chamber itself was breathing. At last, the first elder opened his eyes. We have heard your words. We have seen your trials. Though we remain cautious, we cannot deny what you have shown. Humanity is flawed, but it is not without strength. You may walk among us, and your people may seek paths of trust with ours. We will watch, we will test, but we will also give you the chance you ask for. A faint hum rose through the chamber, stronger than before, as though the ship itself accepted the decision. Ryan let out a slow breath, relief flooding through him, though he kept his posture steady. He had not come as a conqueror, and he had not left defeated. He had come as a bridge, and now that bridge had begun to form. Lyra stepped beside him once more, her eyes softer than he had ever seen. The council has spoken, she said quietly. But I think you had already proven yourself before they gave their answer. Ryan gave a small nod, his voice steady but warm. Then let this be the beginning, not the end. And with that, the hall glowed brighter, carrying the promise of a future where two worlds might walk together. The council's decision was not the end but only the beginning. Ryan knew it as he left the chamber beside Lyra. The air inside the great hall had been heavy, filled with judgment and caution, but now it felt lighter. Still, there was no time to celebrate. For beyond the shining walls of the alien city, a storm was forming. The council had barely finished their words when alarms rippled through the halls. Soft tones of warning echoed from the glowing pillars, and the calm light shifted into a sharper hue. Lyra stopped in her tracks, her expression tightening. Something is wrong, she whispered. Figures of the council hurried into action, their graceful forms moving quickly yet silently. One of them turned to Ryan. "Human, remain here. This is not your concern." But Ryan stepped forward. "If this city is in danger, then it is my concern. You gave us a chance to walk beside you. Let me prove that we mean it." The elder looked at him with doubt, but Lyra's steady voice broke the silence. "He has walked through every trial with me. He deserves to stand in this moment as well." Before more could be said, the ground shook. A tremor passed through the floor, and a faint ripple of energy filled the air. Ryan felt it vibrate through his bones. It was not natural. Something from outside was pressing against the city's protective shield. "The barrier is under attack," Lyra said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. The council moved quickly, activating streams of energy that flowed into the walls, strengthening the barrier. Yet cracks of light began to appear along the edges of the dome above the city. Beyond it, shadows moved in the stars, large and unyielding. Another race, unknown to Ryan, had arrived. For a moment, silence hung in the hall. Then the first elder spoke firmly. "We must hold the barrier. If it breaks, the city will fall." Ryan clenched his fists. He was no soldier, no master of alien technology, but he knew one thing clearly: he could not stand by while others fought to protect him. "Tell me what I can do," he said. Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Then she led him to a chamber filled with glowing panels and streams of shifting energy. It was the barrier's heart. "This place feeds the shield," she explained. "But it draws from living focus. Too much strain, and it falters. The council will hold it as long as they can, but they will not last alone." Ryan stepped closer to the energy, feeling its hum against his skin. It was alive, almost like the heartbeat of the city itself. He looked at Lyra, steady and sure. "Then let me add my strength." Her eyes widened. "A human cannot hold such energy. It will overwhelm you." He smiled faintly. "You told me feelings are not weakness. Then trust me now. I believe the city is worth saving." There was no time to argue. Lyra placed her hand beside his on the glowing panel. Energy surged through them both. It burned at first, sharp and fierce, but Ryan refused to let go. He thought of Earth, of the mistakes and hopes of his people. He thought of the trials he had faced here, and of Lyra's voice telling him that feelings could be strength. He thought of the bridge that had just begun to form between two worlds. The shield flared brighter. The cracks above mended, and the shadows in the stars pulled back under its force. The energy tore at Ryan's body, but he held on, feeding it with every thought of hope he carried. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. At last, the tremors faded. The shadows retreated fully into the dark sky. The dome of light above the city steadied, glowing strong once more. When the power finally eased, Ryan collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. His vision blurred, but he felt a steady hand on his shoulder. Lyra was beside him, her face calm yet filled with something he had not seen before: deep respect. "You held," she said softly. "No one expected you could, but you did." Ryan gave a tired smile. "I told you. Humans may break, but we always rise again." The council entered the chamber then, their expressions solemn yet brightened by a new light in their eyes. The first elder stepped forward. "Human, you have done more than speak. You have acted. Your will strengthened what even we could not hold alone. Today you have shown us what your kind truly carries within." Another elder added, "You did not fight with weapons. You did not claim victory through force. You stood with us, and you endured. This is what makes your people worthy of trust." Ryan bowed his head, though inside his heart swelled. He had not only proven himself, he had shown that humanity could bring something no other race had offered: the power of persistence, fueled by hope and feeling. Lyra stood beside him, and this time she did not hold herself apart. "He is not just a guest," she said. "He is a partner. His people can be partners. Let this day mark the beginning of a new bond between our worlds." The council agreed, their voices rising together like a chorus. The hall filled with light, warm and bright, as though the city itself celebrated the choice. Ryan looked up at the glowing dome above, his chest rising with pride and relief. He had come to prove humanity's worth, and now he had done so not by claiming power, but by standing firm when it mattered most. For the first time since he had left Earth, Ryan felt the future open wide before him. Humanity was no longer alone among the stars. They had a place, and they had earned it. And in that moment, with Lyra beside him and the council watching, Ryan knew this was only the beginning of a story far larger than himself.